This is one of those nights that rewrites perception faster than it rewrites standings. Because when Stephen A. Smith looked at what Aaron Rodgers just did under the lights and declared that the Steelers have control of the division, he wasn't celebrating a win. He was daring the rest of the AFC North to deny reality. This wasn't about box scores or highlight throws. This was about power shifting in real time. About a franchise that has quietly survived its own chaos, suddenly reminding everyone who they are when games start to matter. And that's what made it uncomfortable for a lot of people watching. Because the Steelers were supposed to be gritty, limited, conservative. They were supposed to win ugly or lose quietly. Instead, they marched into Monday night and ripped Miami's playoff hopes apart, while Aaron Rodgers looked far too comfortable running an offense that wasn't supposed to look like this in December. Stephen A. didn't sugarcoat it. He sounded the alarm because he knows how this league works. Momentum isn't something you can fake, and confidence at this time of year is more dangerous than talent. When Pittsburgh rattles off 4 straight touchdown drives, when they go undefeated at home on Monday Night Football stretching back decades, and when they grab a 1-game lead with the division suddenly in their hands, the conversation changes instantly. The Steelers are no longer hanging around. They're holding the steering wheel. And the most unsettling part for the rest of the division is that they didn't do it by accident. Here's how this moment detonated across the NFL landscape. On Monday night, the Steelers eliminated the Dolphins from playoff contention with a 28-15 win that wasn't nearly as close as the score suggests. Miami walked into Pittsburgh with momentum, having won 5 of its last 6 games, and walked out exposed. Tua Tagovailoa remained winless in games played under 40 degrees. The offense stalled, and the illusion of late-season surge vanished in the cold. Meanwhile, Aaron Rodgers threw for 224 yards and 2 touchdowns, orchestrating an offense that suddenly looked balanced, physical, and confident. Pittsburgh moved to 8-6, stayed undefeated at home on Monday Night Football since 1992, and claimed a 1-game lead over Baltimore with a looming Week 18 showdown that could decide the AFC North. Stephen A. didn't hesitate when asked who would win the division. He said it looks like the Steelers. And if you want more real-time breakdowns when narratives flip overnight, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that like button, because these are the moments that define seasons. Stephen A.'s argument wasn't emotional, it was methodical. He looked at the Ravens' schedule and saw turbulence. A Patriots team coming off a collapse. A Packers team reeling after losing ground. 2 emotionally charged games before even getting to Pittsburgh. Add in the reality that Baltimore already lost to the Steelers recently, and suddenly the margin for error evaporates. Stephen A. framed it plainly. Based on the schedule alone, Pittsburgh is in prime position to win the division by default. Not because they're flawless, but because everyone else is tripping at the wrong time. And that phrase, by default, wasn't an insult. It was an acknowledgement of timing. December football doesn't reward excuses. It rewards survival. Jeff Saturday jumped in and made it even clearer why this win mattered. He called it the Steelers' best offensive performance of the season, and that statement carried weight. This wasn't smoke and mirrors. They ran the football with authority. They played physical. Aaron Rodgers made throws that change how defenses line up. That pass across the middle, the vertical shots to DK Metcalf, the way defenders suddenly had to respect the deep ball, all of it unlocked space underneath. Kenneth Gainwell didn't just run, he became a factor as a receiver. And none of that works if defenses aren't afraid. The physicality on offense was the surprise, and the defense did what a Mike Tomlin defense always does. It took away what Miami wanted most and forced discomfort. The Dolphins entered this game having rushed for over 160 yards in 4 straight contests. They left with their run game neutralized and their quarterback forced into mistakes. Negative 20 yards in the 3rd quarter. That's not an accident. That's preparation. That's execution. And Stephen A. made sure everyone understood this wasn't about Miami being a bad team. They came in hot. They left humbled. That's the difference between teams fighting for identity and teams asserting it. But Stephen A. took the conversation somewhere more controversial, somewhere that made people squirm. He said he knew what was going to happen the moment the weather report came out. Cold weather. Teens at kickoff. And suddenly, the Dolphins' reputation followed them into the stadium. 14 straight losses in games 40 degrees or colder. Stephen A. didn't say it to mock. He said it to underline a brutal truth. You cannot be an NFL team that melts when conditions change. Other teams travel. Other teams adapt. Other teams remember they are professionals. Miami, over several years, has failed that test. And when you walk into Pittsburgh in December without the ability to handle the elements, you're already behind. That context matters because it reframes Aaron Rodgers' night. This wasn't just competence. This was command. Rodgers himself called this a team of cast-offs, from Kenneth Gainwell to Adam Thielen, with a grin that reminded everyone who he is. A four-time MVP surrounded by players looking for redemption. And Stephen A. leaned into that dynamic because it's dangerous. Experience plus hunger is a combination that can't be dismissed, especially in a conference that suddenly feels wide open. Chris Canty pushed the discussion forward by asking the uncomfortable playoff question. Could this version of the Steelers win a playoff game? And this is where the debate split. On one side, you have Mike Tomlin, one of the most respected coaches in the league, paired with Aaron Rodgers, a quarterback who has seen everything this league can throw at him. In an AFC where Patrick Mahomes isn't looming, where Lamar Jackson's availability is a question, where Joe Burrow isn't in the picture, why couldn't Pittsburgh win at home in January? That wasn't optimism. That was logic. But Stephen A. refused to be seduced by momentum alone. He admitted the Steelers are playing their best football right now. He acknowledged the comeback win in Baltimore. He praised the Miami performance. And then he dropped the hammer. No, he doesn't believe they'll win a playoff game. Not because of effort, not because of coaching, but because when he scours the AFC, he doesn't see a matchup where he'd confidently pick Pittsburgh, Buffalo, New England, Jacksonville, Houston, Denver, the Chargers. Stephen A. said it plainly. He wouldn't pick them against any of those teams. And that admission hit harder because he said it as a Steelers fan. This is where the tension of the entire conversation peaked. The Steelers might win the division. They might host a playoff game. And it still might not be enough. Because Steeler Nation measures success differently. A decade without a playoff win isn't just disappointing. It's unacceptable. Stephen A. didn't attack Mike Tomlin's legacy. He acknowledged his greatness. 18 years. Consistency. Stability. Respect.